Some of you have been asking, what's the difference between a direct practice and an indirect practice? You know, because our book is called The Direct Path Healing, which ultimately is the pathless path. There really is no path because you're already there. So that along the way we can discover that we've already been here anyway. We take these long journeys in indirect paths to discover that we've always been the healing. So I'm looking at, I listened to someone named Aaron Abke. Aaron, Aaron, Abke, Abke. And you know, with everyone, there are wonderful morsels of insight. Now, hold on. I'm reaching for my warmer cup, which I've just now discovered that keeps everything warm on the inside, but it doesn't warm your hands. Anyway, I listen to wonderful, great speakers and teachers, or whatever word we want to use for them. And you have to realize that whether it's through them or through me or anyone else, when there's a lot of wisdom and insight, it does not mean that everything that they say needs to resonate with you. If it did, it wouldn't even be fair for them because it would limit their growth. It would take away their ability to grow and evolve and change the way that they look at things. I know that I see things with a different clarity now than I may have, 15 years ago, 30 years ago. And so that means that we'll say and express things differently. Perspectives may expand or open up. So allow that of people and not say, well, so-and-so says so, so it must be true. True, probably. It probably must be true. Might be true for them in that moment. But we can't freeze into a moment, can we? I mean, who out there has never changed their mind or never changed their mind again? This is our evolution. But anyway, there's some of the things that Aaron says I find very insightful. He explains that an indirect path to healing is a path that focuses on self-improvement, self-correction, self-development, where the direct path is, he'll say, a constant remembrance. I would say, yeah, you could say that, a constant remembrance of the I am, of the God that we are, of the love, of the essence that we are. This I am is how we experience Source within us. That's really quite true. I am is how we experience Source within us. God, love. Again, whatever word you want. Allah, being, that which is. So, it allows for presence. Presence is being, you could say, well, look out the window here. You see nature. The presence of nature. We are nature. The presence of nature is the fragrance of Source in that I am feeling. It's the fragrance of love, of being. So anyway, what's the difference between indirect practices and direct practices? Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a direct practice because practice is designed to get you somewhere. So by virtue of it being a practice, it's already indirect. So for instance, yoga and meditation are indirect practices. They're designed to get you somewhere. There's concepts of moral living, character improvement, striving to be in a loving relationship with all things, concepts of right action. Anything we strive for is trying. Reading and studying texts. Texts may contain certain insight, but reading and studying them is an indirect practice, no matter how beautiful they may be. And they're exquisite texts. The Law of One, I Am Discourses, A Course in Miracles. Fasting and body purification are indirect practices. Shadow work, causal or karmic purifications. Indirect practices are those that really, if you allow yourself to think about it, to observe it. Indirect practices are those that cannot take you to the final goal of being or God consciousness. They get you closer, but they can't take you all the way there. They pave the way. They clear the obstructions. It's like step halfway again, step halfway again, closer and closer. That's going to get you there, but it never is, because it always gets you halfway. Indirect practices, Aaron will say, lay the groundwork. They prepare the soil. So why can't they get you all the way there? Because they suddenly preserve the ego's separate existence. How do they preserve the ego? You a practice. They're giving the ego a practice to improve itself. Ego is the self-improver. And a lot of us know this, hearing it for the first time. A lot of us may be hearing it differently because everyone uses different words, even if it's just a subtle twist that allows us to go, oh, I get this. This makes sense. The ego is the self-improver. So even our indirect practices of listening to this meditation or that meditation every morning and every evening for 30-day cycles or 3-year cycles, whatever, indirect practices may greatly weaken, soften the ego. Okay? Good goal. But it won't get rid of the ego because it gives the ego something to cling to. I'm getting better at this. It's separate existence. To preserve the ego's separate existence illusion, it causes us to always seek the truth. Sounds good, right? I'm seeking truth. It causes us to always seek the truth. It doesn't allow us to recognize, though, that we are the truth. We seek it. Not see, we seek outside of ourselves until we recognize that it's in ourselves. So it doesn't allow us to recognize that we are, he would say, the goal or the prize that we've been seeking. Think about that for a moment. Let me say that again a little bit, and then let's just, be with it for a minute. Just breathe naturally. Anyone who's ever told us to breathe, just the way the knowingness that we are breathes. But hang on. He explains that the ego is the self-improver. These indirect practices of doing yoga and meditation and right action and purifying the causal and karmic bodies or whatever there, take us closer and closer to the final goal, but don't allow us to get there because they are appealing to our ego. Getting better at my yoga. I'm getting better at my meditation. used to not be able to focus on it. Now I can. Feeding the ego. They subtly preserve the ego's existence by giving the ego a place to find and practice self-improvement, the self-improver. So these indirect practices greatly weaken the ego, yet simultaneously give the ego something to cling on to hold on to, moving towards a prize. It allows us to seek the truth instead of recognizing that we are the truth seeking. Only the direct path can provide that realization. The indirect paths are the trying. And the direct path really is simply the surrendering, the recognition that we are God, love, the infinite. Let's just breathe how the indirect path can bring us closer and closer, and yet simultaneously not allow us to get to the goal that we're seeking. Keeps us as seekers. Breathe with that. Just allow your eyes to close if you'd like. Be with it for a moment. Let's be in contemplation for maybe the next 90 seconds with that. So someone wrote, "Can I just say I am? Can I just say I am?" The direct path to healing is that recognition of I am. Some people might call it the devotion to God, the surrendering to... Aaron will say it's the focusing of our attention lovingly on the I am feeling as much as possible. Now, our human nature takes pride and joy in what we're able to accomplish. I've been able to facilitate healings, and my clients receive this, and my clients receive that, and this disappears, and this gets better, and yet the focusing on that still feeds the separation. It even gives us a little something to live up to. sometimes within ourselves, sometimes for others, and expectations that we've put out there. It's nice to observe, help it observe. But return to the I am, you will see so much more than when simply focusing on what you've done before and what you want to be able to do next. Now, practicing even the focus on gorgeous texts points us in a direction and still simultaneously prevents us from getting there if we stay in the practice, because who is practicing? The separate self, the ego that wants to say, I'm doing such a great job at my practice. And wonderful insights are taught in these texts, and yet the gift of them comes often when we can then release them. For some, we don't have to go through them in the first place. For others, moving through the practices brings us closer, and yet the gift still comes when we allow that practice to dissolve, practice to self-dissolve. There's never a trying, there's not a trying to dissolve it. When we allow our beingness, the practices and the need to practice self-dissolves. The feeling of the need to seek, when we allow it, dissolves because we've found and recognized ourselves. So, for example, Erin would explain, just as an example, the Course in Miracles says that everyone is entitled to miracles, but, here's the but, with one T or two, but purification is necessary first. Play with this for a minute. The path of purification is an indirect path, because no one can purify themselves into God consciousness. He explains, because God consciousness is already pure. Really, who can argue with that? No one really will. So, God consciousness is something that we can find within us, because we are that. Therefore, there's no purification of ourself. We can't purify ourselves. We are that purity. So it looks like that from the outside until we allow ourselves to be with that. So let's be with that. Take the next 60 seconds. And just be with that. Purification is not required first, because the path of purification purify themselves into God consciousness, because God consciousness is already pure, and God consciousness is who you are. So what we often confuse, I would say, with purification is really allowing for the dissolving of what's been obscuring, blocking us from being able to see the God consciousness that we are. When the gray clouds blow away in the sky and we see that the sky's been blue the whole time, do we say that the sky's been purified? Right, no. So we're not purifying ourselves. We are clearing the obstructions that block us from recognizing the God consciousness, the perfection, the love, the being, the healing that we already are. Really, a lot of our blockages and purifications, as Aaron might explain, are our negative thoughts. The indirect path, whatever approach to healing or self-improvement we take that's indirect, whatever the practice is, the indirect path is designed to remove these blockages. That's how you can invite the eternal presence or perfect love to dwell within you. But it also says you have to prepare the dwelling. The indirect path can weaken the separate self, like as we said, but it can't get rid of it. Okay, sounds good. So who does this sound good to? Who is trying to purify self? It's the ego. The path to purification is very preoccupied with techniques to be practiced, disciplines to be kept. How to remove the blockage. Then we start looking at ourselves and evaluating what a good job we're on. But if the goal to spirituality, as Aaron and others would explain, is to transcend the ego, this for a moment. If the goal to spirituality is to transcend the ego, to transcend that separate self, then all practices interfere with that because they perpetuate the separate self who is doing them. As we said, it may weaken the separate self, but it won't get rid of it. The one who is trying to purify itself is what? The one who is trying to purify itself is what? It's the ego. Aaron might say, it's becoming a more spiritualized ego. All right, that's nice. But eventually, we have to release the ego itself, allow it to dissolve. So in going about practices, we're using the ego. And using the ego to go about practices, we have to realize that the ego is that separation, that separate self, that illusion. It's the absence, Aaron might say, the absence of enlightenment involved with self-improvement. not require effort or work. We say to ourselves, well, how can I be in being get there through a how? How about observation? There's no getting there anyway. Our words are so funny. Through a how, but you also can't get there because you are there. When you experience love with someone, what's the first thing you experience? You perceive. Presence. You perceive, hear, whatever words you want. Presence, oneness, unity. There is no longer a separation between you and someone else. Love allows you to recognize that your being is one with everyone and everything. Every week. When you experience love with someone, you realize the being that you are is the same being that that person is. Be with that. Tea went down a little funny. This recognition of I am. We could think of it as a prayer that doesn't ask for anything. It's really just that communication. That recognition that we are one with everyone and everything really mediates how we treat others as well as ourselves. An often used example is the reason people such as Hitler behaved the way they did was because they could not see that they shared their being with everyone and everything, whether they liked that person or not. And then we place judgment, but do we ask ourselves, how often do we ask ourselves, he was abused, I believe, by his father, by others in his whole life. How often do we ask ourselves, could I have become like this person or that person if I had grown up with that same experience? Can we see ourselves in others and others in us? Do we often push that away because we're not sure what we want to open up, that we want to open up that possibility of seeing that? There are jokes about everyone. What was the joke? Someone offered Hitler a vodka drink and he said, no, thank you. And then we laugh about it and then we move on to something else. And it is funny. But what about seeing ourselves in others? What about that? Breathe with that. Breathe with that. Carmen, hi, Carmen. What brings you to join us this morning?
Well, I was curious about the fact I had the reconnection level 2 and 3 in November last year, and now I was practicing with friends, and there were two friends of mine. And they didn't feel anything, but they also weren't open for it. They did it for me, but they don't have any feeling with a healing or something. So I thought, okay, I don't feel anything.
First of all, I don't know how you decided to assess that they weren't open to it. That's an interesting concept. And they didn't feel anything in your communication that you would have liked them to feel something. It sounds as if there was a lot of trying. It sounds as if there was a lot of trying on your part and theirs. Sometimes parts of us, when someone says that they don't believe something, we want them to see it with them, and there becomes trying on both parts, subtly. There's a wanting them to feel it, maybe a disappointment if they don't feel it. I'm going to suggest that we don't focus so much on feeling. I would suggest that we allow presence, just presence itself. And afterwards, we're talking about the session, we and they allow their experience to be perfect, just as it is. Because it is perfect, just as it is. This is a wonderful healing for us as the facilitator of healing. To be, it is in this that we find more and more of the ego dissolve. We are presence, we are love, we are acceptance, we are being. We are healing, and this becomes revealed to us by us. Of healing. Right now, and talk a little longer, but we can't because we are getting ready. For 25 minutes from now, we're sharing Solomon Speaks on reconnecting your life. So we invite all of you who want to go to the bottom, or sometimes Chelsea is here, she'll add on a link. You can scroll to the bottom of this page and look for it, or you can go to our website, thereconnection.com, and scroll to the very bottom of the home page. Scroll to the very bottom of the home page, and you'll see Reconnect Life Community, RLC, and it's free. Come join us every Wednesday. This is starting in 25 minutes from now, where we discuss insights from the book, Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. We invite you to come join us, be with us, and let's see what's happening with that. I know that a lot of you will be joining the Reconnection for the training program that Cecilia is giving very close to where we are right now in the San Diego area, coming up February. I believe if I look at my calendar here, it's coming up, at a week and a half. It's February 10th and 11th, And for those of you continuing to the reconnection, the level 3 training program that continues the 12th and 13th, Monday and Tuesday. So lots of love for seeing us here. We'll see you in 25 minutes. I will see you again next week. Remember, every week we start at 7:45 in the morning, California time, 9:45 in the morning, Chicago time, 10:45 in the morning, New York time. And we'll see you then. 24 minutes on Stalin Speaks. Join us. Lots of love.